to Spirit Sessions. We're so glad to have you with us. It's part of the family. It feels good, doesn't it? Today we have such an amazing guest, but before we get to share this with you, share out our show. Send it to a friend. Invite a friend to come watch it. Go to YouTube and like it. Do that kind of social stuff that we need that helps us out. And today we got Bex Marie back with us because we're so glad to have Bex and Ron in her braids today. So cute. Um, Rhonda, you met this guest, and so to me that is so fascinating. Tell us about Maria.
Okay, I'm going to put Maria on the big screen. I met Maria at a Hay House conference, Oracle Readers Conference in Toronto about 4 years ago. And I think we just kind of met each other while we were waiting for the conference to begin the night before. And she was just, she's an Angel Tribe person. Yay, Angel Tribe.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
And it was just like, when you go to these conferences, you kind of see your tribe and you hang out, and we had a nice connection. And I've been trying to get her on the show ever since. So first she wasn't ready, then she family stuff, and then finally we got her on. But it's a good time to have Maria on because she's just written an amazing tarot journal. It looks like a master workshop when you open it up. So I suggest anybody who's interested in getting into tarot to take this book and use it because it looks like a step-by-step guide to do it. Also, she teaches it, so that would be good. But you weren't always a psychic medium person. Can you tell us a little bit about your beginning story and how you've come into this and how it's growing on you? And yeah, it's pretty fascinating to hear your story.
Oh, absolutely. So I actually got into it quite by accident. I had a severe back injury when I was 30 years old. And so I would do meditation. I was always looking for things to help with pain management. So I would do meditations, a lot of meditations, not realizing the more I meditated, the stronger my psychic and mediumship abilities would be. Um, and then I could see and hear spirit. And then just for reference, I come from a very strict Roman Catholic family. So this woo-woo stuff, you don't grow up with this. So just sharing with people, I remember like having family over and I'd be like, oh, do you smell the sauce? I remember that one time I'd be like, do you guys smell the sauce? It's just like, who brought the sauce? It just smells so good. And then I realized that was spirit. That was somebody, a loved one in spirit bringing through that smell. And everybody just looked at me like I had 7 heads. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm the only one experiencing this. Or I go to family events and I'd be like, so who's the extra person there? I never met that guy. And I'd see him there and everybody just look at me and I'd be like, oh, okay. Nobody could see that guy. So then I was realizing, okay, this is just a me experience and nobody else having this experience. And then I remember being so afraid of my mediumship and my psychic abilities. I was sharing with the ladies, like I went to a crystal shop and I remember the owner, I don't remember what store it was, a long time ago, right? And just being like, oh, you need this crystal for protection, you need that crystal. And let me tell you, I bought tons of crystals and I put them all in my bedroom. And then I go to sleep and spirit would come to visit and to pass a message. I'd be like, oh my goodness, the crystals didn't work. And then I remember somebody getting holy water for me. And they're like, oh, and I think there's a movie about this. They'd be like, oh, spirit comes, just splash holy water on them. You know that doesn't work. And I think there is some Disney movie or Hallmark, like something like that. So I was learning because, like, from my background, I don't know what this was. I would go to psychic fairs and I thought it was interesting, like the tarot card readers, but I didn't understand how it worked. So I was actually quite terrified of it. I remember at one point my mom went to Portugal and she brought back all these statues like Archangel Michael, Archangel Gabriel. She had them all blessed, all with holy water. She's like, this will protect you, Maria. It's like, oh my goodness, this is fantastic. So I got my rosaries, I got my crystals, I got my holy water, and I got all my saints. And I would put them in my bedroom and then I would go to sleep. And guess what? Spirit would be there talking to me. So over time, I learned to control. I learned to manage and not be afraid, and I learned to understand because I was so afraid of it because I didn't understand it. So I started. I will say the first year, I honestly slept in the fetal position because I was so horrified of my abilities and I didn't understand it. And then as I met healers and other mediums and psychics and started reading more books about it, I was like, wait, this isn't anything to be afraid of. I can learn to control this. I can learn to talk to spirit. And, and it took a long time to get out of the fear because honestly, like I was sharing with the ladies, I got into Reiki, learned to become used to be Reiki master. And then when messages would come through and I would pick up stuff, I'd be like, oh no, that was the Reiki energy that did that. Then I was really curious about tarot and I learned it really easy. And then when people be like, oh, it's the cards. The cards did it. I didn't do anything. So I kept hiding behind um, these other abilities and be like, yeah, the paper cards, they did everything. The healing energy, that did nothing has to do with me. And it would be like I could hear your loved ones coming through. I could hear the messages. And yes, so it's embracing that, stepping forward, not being afraid to be seen. But I will say it does take time. So if anybody is going through this, know you are safe. And I tell this to my students all the time, the boogeyman is not going to get you. Nothing is going to get you. You are always safe.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the whole thing is you have to have that intention that you're safe. I mean, putting the blankets over your head in the bed is it's like that'll protect me from the lightning. When it's thundering outside, I'll just put the blankets over my head. There's no way. So I think of spirit a lot like lightning. It just comes through wherever it needs to come through, and that's where it's gonna, and it landed through you for a reason. So do you think maybe through the childhood, did you ever experience any gifts or anything you think now when you think back with this new lens that you have?
I know growing up, I was never afraid of death. I know in the village where we grew up, and when people would pass, people would call, like the family would call my father. And back then in the village, we would prepare the bodies after somebody passed away and get them ready for
Where did you grow up?
Portugal, like in a
in Portugal. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that was just normal to me growing up. And now looking back, I was like, oh, okay. I would understand. I remember going to funerals and looking, like just being aware of their loved ones and knowing they were okay and sensing them within the room. But I thought everybody could sense and I thought everybody could hear them talk growing up. So I was just like, well, everybody, it's like they look so peaceful. They feel very happy. They feel like, and I would start saying stuff. But as a young child, people are just like, okay, let me just push you over to the side. But now looking back, because I've never actually looked back, and interesting enough, I completely forgot about that memory. So thank you, Rhonda.
You're welcome. I can just see that it's always been kind of a part of you, but like you say, like that back, like meditating, it just brought it forward. Like what else can you do when you're sitting there but to contemplate? And maybe spirit heals you better when you're open and you're opening yourself up to healing, sort of that it comes in. And now you have to be the person that sees people and they pass. But that's quite a gift to just thing come through, right? It's just like, what an awakening. Did it change any of your relationships at all? What's your mother and father think of that? Or what did they think of it?
Oh, they are absolutely supportive. My family is supportive now. I will say in the beginning, they were a little bit scared. And then when they understood and when people would cross over and I'd be like, they're here and just passing messages. I remember once my mom had this picture. It was a very old picture. I don't know who gifted it to her. And I'm going through it. I'm like, this person passed, that person passed. And she's going through her mind. And she's like, well, how would you know they passed? Because there were a lot of people. I think there were like 30, 40 people in this family portrait. I don't know many of them in it. And I'd be like, because they're right here. They're telling me that, they have passed on. And then in that moment, she looked at me. She's like, okay, this is real.
Oh, I bet that was kind of a relief for her, because before that she thought, well, maybe those drugs that they gave her made her a little psychotic. There's always that double-edged sword. Oh, she's psychic. Oh, that's better than being psycho. So, no, but, we always go back and forth in our family. We laugh about that. I have three sisters. So,
I think
yeah.
too, what happens with a lot of people when they're having their spiritual awakening is spirit kind of clears out those people that are no longer part of your path as you're growing, right? Because everybody comes into our lives for different, what do they say, different seasons, different chapters of our life. So I know the friends that I had back then are not the same ones that I hold today, because I found my people, right? You find your tribe, and then you flourish and you grow within your tribe because it feels safe, and everybody's having more or less the same experiences, and you share and you grow, and that's okay too.
Yeah, and not being afraid of spirit. It's like I always laugh at those ghost hunters. They go in looking for ghosts, and then they run away when they find one. Like, sorry, it makes me laugh, because these are just people, right? And if you met them outside in the streets of a busy city, you wouldn't run away. So why would you run away when you find them when you're looking for them? But I think I think that's also something that we've been so conditioned to be afraid of spirits, right?
Yeah.
From Scooby Doo on, like, you get into a haunted movie,
just
you
people.
scream. Yeah.
It's just our loved one's soul that's there. We just can't see their physical body anymore, but they live forever. Their consciousness, their soul body is there forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It must be. Yeah. And so now, do you have like office hours for your spirit people that come through to you?
Uh,
Yeah.
yes, I've learned that over the years because you learn to control it. I think for me, it was a lot of setting intentions with spirit, because in the beginning I was like, well, what's that? And I have met mediums over the years. They'll be like, well, I set the intention. I'm like, but did you really? Because there's this powerful energy behind an intention, because you could say it and say, well, I set the intention. Spirit can only come and visit me between this time and that time. And I've met mediums that have struggled with spirit coming in different times, and it'd be like, but did you set that intention? Did you really did you sit? Did you meditate? Did you have that conversation? So yeah, so now with because before I used to get bombarded all the time, it'd be hard to sleep. I could constantly hear spirit, and it's just with spirit now with us, it's when we're going to do readings. I set the intention, I open up I open it up to the spirit world, and then they step forward, whoever needs to step forward for their highest healing, for the sitter's highest healing too, right? Because it's for both of them. It's for your loved ones in spirit that need to come through and say whatever they need to say, and for the sitter that is seeking more healing or seeking proof of life after death, knowing they just didn't vanish into thin air and that they're still with us, to have that confirmation that they've seen us and seen what's happened after our passing. I mean, after their passing, because I've done readings where people will be like, well, they passed away, I was really young. And it's like, well, that's okay. But then the evidence that comes through will be about all the things that have happened in their life after they have passed away. And I'll be like, I don't know this. Like, they're telling me. This is how I know that this is happening. So, no, you're not alone. Know that they're watching over you. And then that brings them a lot of peace. So, it is very healing for both. And then within my readings, and then like we open it up to the spirit world. And then at the end, I always say a prayer and we end the session. And spirit knows that that's how I work.
Yeah.
So
And
out of that, I ain't hearing spirit because I don't have it open up 24 hours. I did find when I was like that, it's very draining for me, anyways. And every medium's different. So some mediums are okay with that, and there's nothing wrong with that. This is just how it works for me, and it works better for me when I have my office hours. Yeah.
Morning Stars just wrote down. She said, "As we grow or age, our palm lines extend and develop as well. Markings appear because we have changed, or as a result of hand articulation, hand signs, palm lines. A faint psychic strength line strengthens with use." So the more you use it, the more it strengthens. So she's saying that it's like our lines in our hands when we're babies aren't very clear, but as we get older, they get deeper and stronger. So I can't even
That's
get to that.
interesting.
That's an interesting way to look at it.
I think
Yeah,
too, it's important to remember, like with mediumship or even with psychic, the more you trust it, the stronger it gets. Because
yeah,
when you trust it, it's like exercising, right? If you do it on a regular routine, and it's like, and then just also acknowledging yourself and being like, yeah, that was my intuition. Yeah, that was psychic. Yeah, I did connect to spirit. And those little check mark, little star moments that, yeah, I did it, makes your ability stronger and it helps you open up and for the fear, for those that have fear to go away because you're like, no, I'm safe. No, I got that. And then it's that trusting that gut feeling, which is also part of your intuition because a lot of people talk you out of it. It's like, no, 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 trust it.
that's so important. I tried to when I brought up my kids, I said, if you feel something's wrong, then run away. Like just listen to your gut. Just listen to your gut, whatever it says. You know, you can say no. No problem. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's like trying to teach them young to listen to their intuition and grow. So show us your new book and maybe let's go through it. Oh, that's so beautiful. It's a big book.
It is a big book. So the way this book came to pass is because I teach intuitive tarot certification course, and each time I would teach it, I would create a journal for the students. And I didn't like it. I was like, I got to come up with a better journal. I'm like, I have to come up with another better journal. And then the last class I taught, I broke it down and I was like, oh my goodness, I really like this. But then I realized this is about 400 pages. So I'm like, I can't be sending my students PDFs of 400 pages for them to print out. So then I created the book on Amazon. So we're not wasting all our ink on our paper. And then too, what students were talking about was when they were trying to learn the tarot and get their own journals, they're going to the dollar store. And then by the end of the course, they had like 6 or 7 different little booklets because they don't come that thick, right? So it's like, oh, I have this, and then trying to organize themselves. So it came out of a necessity to help my students to put everything in one place. And the good thing about that I love about this book is you can use it with any tarot deck. Like you can learn on your own, which is fantastic. Like you can learn with me or you can learn on your own. So what I did with the book, I'll just walk you through it, is I have a couple of things in the beginning of the book. Let me see here. The pages are sticking. Oh, so I have a part in the book where we talk about what are psychic abilities, because I think that's important. So you get to go through the checklist of what are your psychic abilities, what are your superpowers, and then what I did in here, because I break it up with are you empath, just there's a little bit and about meditating and journaling. But once we get to the actual journal part, it's actually quite simple. So the first part is we're going to talk about the major arcana. So that's the first set of cards, right? From 0 to 21, which is actually 22 cards. But I broke it up this way because there's a lot of room to write. So I don't know if you guys can see. So I have like the full card here. Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
In the full card, I have upright and reverse. And then there's a spot for you to put your card. And then you know what? If you're doing the card and you feel like, okay, you know what, Maria, I feel like upright means something else, write it down. There's a lot of room for you to write and to trust your intuition and see what you pick up. And then to get people to embrace, I think the language too scares people and turns them off. So I make it really simple. So the first part, with your card, I put, now I want you to tune into the vibrations of the colors of the card. So we were using this card, like the strength card, like what are the colors you see? How do the colors make you feel? So that's clairsentience. Just getting people used to those words, because I think those words sometimes sound so woo-woo, so out there, like it's not a part of who I am. Then I have another part where it's, okay, clairvoyance. What do you see in the cards? So just getting people used to that language, getting them to tune into the card. And there's lots of room for you to write. And let's see. And then we go to the next page. And then this one's always interesting. It's what's the vibration of the card? How does this card make you feel? So earlier here, there's a whole page on emotions. Does it make you feel happy, sad, confident, strong? Like how does it make you feel? And if you were to turn the card reverse, does it still feel the same way? So this is all about you tuning into your intuition, your clairsentience. And it's like, well, how does it make you feel? And then I have here upright, because you'll hear people be asked yes, no questions. It's like, I don't know if I should do this or not do this. So I get you to tune into the card. So if the card is upright, how does that make you feel? Is that a yes card? Does it feel like a yes vibration to you? So that's where you can close your eyes and just really trust how your body is making you feel. And then if I reverse it, does it still feel like a yes card, or now does it feel like a no card? So this is all about giving you your power back into trusting who you are. Then down here, I just walk you through the cards, and then over here, there's the whole part where you will write. So I'll just read what I wrote at the bottom, because this is where you put the story together. So it says, let's put the story of this card together. What is the intention or the message of the card? Look at the image of the card, then take a moment to close your eyes and reflect on the energy in your heart space. How does it make you feel? What are you sensing? Do any of the images visually stand out to you? Can you hear sounds, words associated with the images in your mind? Or do you have a strong sense of knowing? So, and then you just, you close your eyes with the card, connecting to it with your heart center, and just see what you get. And then for those that, and then, each page, then we go through the same thing on the next card, and then the next card. So make it very easy. And then the more you trust what you get, the stronger your intuition is. And then also realizing if you decide to do it professionally, the images, whatever you're sensing for this card for yourself or for one person may change with another person, because now you're tuning into their soul energy. And that will guide you with what the image or the message is for this card.
So it's almost like a psychic development course as well as a tarot development course, because you're really making people work with their own senses and do exercises every day, like you said, to strengthen their own awareness, like tuning in to their feelings, because a lot of people just grab a card and go, that's a card, what a pretty picture, love it.
Yeah, it's all about giving you your power back, just because, and it's a lot from my own experience. When I was trying to learn tarot, I used so many books and I was so confused at the end. I got one deck and I got like a marker and I write all around it and be like, this is what this means. And I'm just like, I'm not really tuning into my intuition, because I would get overwhelmed, because there are so many cards, right? Like you get overwhelmed. Whereas this book, it's like, no, we're going to do one card each day. And then for those that want to shuffle and pick a card of the day, what I tell them to do, or things they can do, is yes, shuffle a card, pick a card of the day and put it on your dresser and just tune in. Do this exercise, tune in. And then at the end of the day, go back to your card and see if what you tuned into matched what happened in that day. And that's how you connect even deeper with your cards.
Very cool.
Actually, quite fast.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you.
That's a really interesting way. Yeah, everybody's saying. How cool. Would you be able to do us a card of the day for our audience, or sort of a theme of whatever you think we need to hear about today? I just think it would be fun.
That sounds great. With the eclipse portal we got going on, and Mercury's in retrograde, Pluto's going into retrograde. I think the energy's all wacky, and yes, please.
Whoa, this one fell out. I love it. So when the cards fall out, that's exclamation mark from spirit, from your intuition, and it is the Temperance card. So this is all about balance within your life, trusting, knowing you are safe. Spirit's also recognizing that with this, you've had a lot of challenges within your life. So I think people would agree. We're coming out of winter. It's like we've had a lot of challenges, and now it's like spring is coming up. So all those ideas that you guys have, you can put into fruition, but it's staying balanced. Because what I love about this card, and I teach this to my students, is tuning into the imagery, and you see that little road at the back. I don't know if you guys can see that road. That's your life. That is the challenges within your life. But you end up with the sun. Everything ends up being okay. If we tune into the bottom, like with the feet, one is on the ground and one is within the water. So it's that balance energy. So this is all about balance and good things happening this week. So no stress, everybody. This is a good week for everybody.
It's a really card too. Sorry, it looks like a really springy card.
It does.
Everything's growing and yeah, time to plant and take your cup and go. Oh,
and you have
awesome.
your angel wings. So that always reminds me that our angels are watching over us. The white for me, when I see it, is all about protection. I see a lot of green. So that reminds me of healing and a lot about growth within your life. But it's the vibration of this card feels very peaceful, feels very calm, feels like, you know what, everything will work out. And just know, anybody can read the tarot. You just break it down and you just tune into the card and we make it simple. Yeah.
That's awesome, because tarot is a system as well as, right? It has its own little system inside it. It's kind of mathematical a little bit, but it also, you use it the psychic way. So again, it's kind of its own development, psychic development, tarot all by itself, right?
It is. I use it. In my mind, everything needs to be simple because I've done the hard way and it never worked for me. And I will say, like a long time ago, I met this woman and wanted to learn to read the tarot because I tried books and nothing worked and all of that stuff. And the first thing she did when I met her, it was only like a day. She was like, yeah, I'm going to do a little bit of stuff with you for a day. And she's like, Maria, did you bring the tarot deck? And I was like, yeah. I was so excited. She goes, you have the book? I go, yeah, here's the book. She threw my book in the garbage. And I was like, oh, it's like, no, you're going to trust your intuition. You're going to trust spirit. We're not going to the book. And then I got into the habit of every time I bought tarot decks or I started throwing the books in the garbage. And now I look back at my old decks and I was like, yeah, I know these things came with books, but they're like, they've been all recycled, all the books. She got me in like, no, we're not memorizing. We're not reading. We're going with it and we're going to trust what we get.
Right.
It was scary when she threw out my book. I was like, oh, I got to go buy another book. Got to buy another deck. But I did it. I trusted her. Yeah.
That was awesome. It also frees you a lot too, especially when you're going from client to client, because what they see and what they feel from it means a lot different. And I mean, I just do oracle cards. Just do oracles. So when I'm doing the angel, I'm figuring the angels are telling them. So if I can disconnect completely, I just tell them what the angels are saying, and that's all. But yeah, the tarot deck it's nice because you have. So you say when you do a tarot reading, people come in, spirit comes in, but their loved ones will come in too and give them messages when you open that portal. Do they as well?
Yeah. Oh yes, they do. And I always ask permission because some people, they're very. I don't want to talk to anybody in the spirit world. So I need to honor that for them. So I always ask them, it's like, okay, I know you requested a tarot reading, but I am a medium. So if one of your loved ones choose to step forward to pass you messages to help you along, whatever it is that you're going through, is that okay with you? So I always ask permission because that's very important. Because there are people that will say, no, it scares them. They don't understand it. And they're just like, no. And that's okay. And I respect that. And then we just go completely psychic. Others are very open to it. And it's like, oh, if my loved ones pop in, please let me know. And then as soon as they say that, they too are giving permission to the spirit world and to their loved ones to step forward. And I find those readings flow so beautifully because they want to hear from them, right? So the energy just flows.
Can we talk a little bit of difference between the tarot and oracle cards or angel cards or whatever we want to talk about? What the difference is and why are so many people so afraid of tarot cards? And maybe you can speak to that, like the old way of tarot cards.
I don't know why people are scared of tarot cards, But what I do know is you mentioned there's a system to it. Um, I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah, because oracle cards, they're easy. You pull one card, it's a card of the day or an angel card. And I think the images within the tarot scare people. So if you get the death card, right? It's got like the devil on it, and that scares people. But really what that is, it's all about letting go of the past. It's about the stories we tell ourselves to get to stay stuck. So once you understand what the images mean, then you can move forward. But over time, I think like the Rider Waite deck, because that is the original tarot deck, right? Over time, other artists have come and they have softened the deck. It still has the same meaning, but the images aren't so intense, if you will.
Yeah, I'm just thinking I've got the Archangel Tarot deck here.
I knew I heard shuffling going on.
Yeah, no, I just had, and the Fairy Tarot deck by Diane Bertu and Roger Valentine. That's not a scary deck at all. No,
I love that. I love the Angel Tarot too.
They're beautiful decks. I just discovered one a few weeks ago, the Sufi Tarot deck. That's such a soft and heart-centered tarot deck. The Light Seers Tarot deck. I also love that one because that feels like a newer deck for. It's just the pictures are more relatable to today.
Right.
So you don't have to use the Rider Waite deck. I think because those were the traditional decks, but because there are so many creative artists today, they go in and they just soften up the pictures more.
Yes.
And then I think too, because there are 78 cards within the tarot deck. So you have your major arcana, which is all about your major life events. And then you have your minor arcana. Whereas with the oracles and the angel card, you don't have that. So that might be a little bit overwhelming for some people. But I love tarot. I find like once you understand it, you're like, oh my goodness, this is so easy. Because then once you get like the foundation of the basic tarot, you could grab any deck and you'll be like, okay, I know what that card means. I know what this means. And it's just, and for me, I have this appreciation for art. I love art. So I'm always interested in, well, how did that artist create this deck, the tarot deck? What are the image? Some have so much romance in it. Others have less imagery. And it's just like, I just find it so fascinating, the interpretation of each artist when they're creating the tarot decks. There's like, is it Circo Marchetti? I think I said his name right. His details to his tarot decks are just like breathtaking. So it just depends. Like, but I will say, I have a lot of oracle cards. And angel, I think I have over 100 decks, so they're not all. I love card. I love the artwork.
I do too. That's my excuse. Anyways, I love the artwork on them. I just do.
Yeah,
so, it's I love the artwork on them, and as we've seen, like even with Kyle Gray's oracle cards, they've evolved and changed over the time, and they've changed. How old is the Rider Waite deck? Do you know? Do you know how old it is?
I'm trying to remember. I think because I teach it, I'm trying to remember my notes here. I think I think it was created in the 1500s. I don't have my notes in front of me, so I'm trying to remember. It came over to North America in the 1900s.
Yeah, and it was always, I think part of the imagery of the Raider was to give it an air of mystery and, a scare, like people liked horror movies, loved horror movies. And I think the people that wanted to see those decks liked the scare factor of them, so.
I think too, you're absolutely right. But the tarot deck back in the day, I think it was like the Renaissance time. I'm trying to remember because I don't remember this stuff off my head right now. It was actually a game for the rich, like a tarot deck, like a card game. And then over time, then people came out with regular cards. So regular playing decks actually correspond to tarot decks.
Yeah, because I remember my grandmother used to just read. I have friends who just read card decks.
I find that so fascinating when I see that happen. I was like, oh, that's so cool.
Yeah. So I hope my sister's sister-in-law reads just plain decks. It's pretty cool. So it's a card that way. Oh, somebody said that journal is fantastic. Thank you so much for creating it. Yeah, now I have to go and buy it so I can go through the tarot and learn how to do the tarot your way. So,
And you work at your own pace, and you can use any tarot deck that you have.
and colored pencils. I just keep wanting to use colored pencils in your journal.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
That would be beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Definitely.
And the great thing about it is all the information is in one spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't have all these mini journals all over the place, and you don't lose it. It's all in one spot for. And you know what? Maybe you use one book for one tarot deck, and then you get another book for another tarot deck, and you go through it and work through the cards on your own.
Mm-hmm.
So you do readings, you do tarot card readings. You also do a reading where you help people find out what their psychic abilities are. Can you tell us about it, a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I learned a few years ago how to do spiritual assessment. So that's tuning into that person. Because sometimes what happens is people will come to me and be like, I think I'm a medium, but I don't know. So then spirit shows me different parts of their life experiences that they've had. And then we talk through it to get rid of the fear so they feel empowered at the end. So sometimes people are like, I think it's interesting because I was talking to a friend about this the other day when I do spiritual assessments. Things physically happen to the sitter, the person that I'm reading. So because I'm very clairvoyant, but I'm clairvoyant, like I see things actually physically happen to you, or they happen to me. So if I'm seeing a medium, I'll see images, but your eyes will change on me. So I'm like, okay, I have a medium in front of me. If you're a healer sitting in front of me, the palm of my hands will start to burn as you're about to sit. And I'll be like, you're a healer. And then I notice if people are very psychic in front of me, I'll notice like right here, my third eye will start to like, I can feel it tingling. And I'd be like, oh, you get a lot of psychic visions. Or sometimes because I do psychic fairs, I have one girl sit before me and my ear started to burn so much. And I was like, oh, you're very clairaudient. So you hear spirit through your ear. And I'd be like, you hear it outside of yourself. So people are clairaudience and they can hear it in their mind, like we all do, right? You'll hear thoughts within our mind, but then there are a few that can hear it outside of themselves, like a separate voice. So when I do spiritual assessments, spirit uses my body and I start having the experiences, and then they confirm or deny. They'll be like, yeah, that's happening to me. Yes, this is happening. And I think the confirmation, because I have one done for myself years ago, the confirmation is very empowering because it says, hey, you're going through this, you're not losing your mind, you're okay, what's happening, and let me guide you to show you how you can embrace your gift, how you can control it. And then for those that want to come back and do more psychic stuff, they come. Other people will be like, okay, I want to develop my mediumship because this is happening to me, and we'll do that. Or it just brings some peace. A lot of times just having someone confirm to you that, yeah, I see that this is happening to you and it happens to me too. And it's okay. You'll be okay.
And then you're not psycho. You're psychic. Right. You're like, sorry, no, I just like, you hear voices in your head and you get thinking, yeah, was that, do you like you had too much coffee or what? So
if you hear a disembodied voice calling your name, that's a common one, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wakes you up in the middle of the night going, what? Who called? Yeah, those are all fun things.
It's all about removing the fear and giving that person their power back. Yeah. And that to me is important because I had it taken away the first year. Like I slept under a blanket thinking if I'm under the blanket in the fetal position, spirit can't talk to me. They can't see me because I thought that would work. So that's why I do these sessions to help others so they're not afraid.
They don't hide their light under the bushel or the blanket. You do, and I know I've seen on your webpage that you actually have right now, people can sign up on your Facebook page or on your webpage to do a mediumship circle. So you kind of have like a Zoom group that gets together, a little tribe of people that get together to practice together, because we all know that works so well. Is that what you do?
Yes, absolutely. So we have every Wednesday, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern. all levels of mediumship come together. So it doesn't matter if you're beginner, advanced, middle. And then each week we do exercises, and then everybody gets feedback on where they're at. And it's a safe space for people to ask questions within their mediumship. And it's so amazing to watch mediums where they began and then a year later in my circle, and you see how much they've grown, their self-confidence, and then they go out and they become their own professional mediums, and they offer readings, or they incorporated. I had a woman that came, and she wasn't interested in doing mediumship readings, but she's a healer, and she needed to understand what was going on. So if a loved one came through, she wanted to be able to pass the messages with confidence, but she wasn't looking to do what I was doing. Like, we're sitting across the table from each other, and I got, I'm bringing your loved one. It was to incorporate it into her healing practice. So it just depends. Everybody has a different reason why they come. But I think, too, the most important reason is I have this gift and I have to figure out how to develop it. And then they incorporate it into their spiritual business, however that looks like for them. Or maybe they don't. Maybe it's just because I've had other people join and it's just for them. They just want to know that they can connect to their grandmother or their mother or their father whenever they want, and they know it's real. So it just depends on each person. But yeah, and then it turns into a family. So we love it.
Sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah.
It is a lot of
fun. Sounds like fun. Katrina was saying, how do you remove the fear? And I think, like you said, the fear is removed by education. Like Absolutely. You realize that you're safe and you don't have anything really to fear. And we unlearn all those things that made us afraid in the first place. Why would you be afraid? When we're little and you could hear the people talking to you when you were at funerals, you were never afraid because you hadn't been programmed to be afraid yet. You just thought that's what everybody hears. That's what everybody sees, But
and then you grow up and you're told that's scary, or coming from my background, it's like that's evil, and you're like, ooh. And then you learn. And it's hanging out with like-minded people that is so empowering. So go find your tribe, go find your circles. And I think, too, it's important to say, if you do join a development circle and what they are saying does not resonate with you, it's okay to go to another circle. It's okay to say, I respect what you're saying, but that doesn't resonate with me. I'm going to try another one.
Because I think you have to find your tribe. Like you say, you have to find who resonates with you on the same wavelength and the same kind of stage, age, whatever. We have a couple of questions for you at the end. You can show your you can get your journal, by the way, on Amazon. It's pretty easy to find on Amazon.ca. It's lovely. And the links to you and all your social media is in the comments on this video or on the podcast. So you can go in and just click and get right to Maria if you like. Maria, I'll start off with the easy one. What's your favorite crystal? Because apparently you have a lot in your bedroom. So is there a favorite one that has protected you really well?
I love rose quartz. That is my favorite. I get the bracelet. Now I'm looking for a rose quartz ring. So every time I have fat fingers, so every time I go,
I know fat fingers, yeah.
I was like, oh, that doesn't feel. So that is my mission this year, to find a rose quartz ring that suits my fingers. So that is my favorite. Yeah, because it's heart-centered. It's so heart-centered. And one of the things I used to do back in the day, in the beginning, is I would meditate with crystals. So I would hold the rose quartz crystal because it's love, right? And I would just sit there and meditate and tune into the vibration of the crystal.
So it's beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, I love rose quartz. We have a rose quartz mine just in Ontario,
Really?
It's gorgeous to go visit. Yeah, it's up by Bancroft. It's lovely. Make an appointment. You got to go see it. It's amazing. It's quite a road trip. What would be your theme song of your life right now if you had one? You're coming out on stage, if they're playing your song. What would that be? Or one that just resonates with you right now?
Oh my goodness. Do you know when you said that, the first thing I heard in my mind was, I'm a survivor. but I don't know the rest of the words to that song. I never thought of a theme song. I know one of the songs I love to listen to all the time is Angel Love. It's on YouTube. I find it so relaxing.
Oh, I have to
Yeah.
listen to that one. I have to listen to that one. That's cool. And the last question that I like to ask everybody else is: have you seen a UFO or strange lights in the sky, or had some, besides spirit, had some correct connection to any extra dimensional beings?
For me, no, but I do have a story that I can share about that.
Sure.
Uh, Many years ago, when I was learning to become a Reiki practitioner, we would partner up with different people to practice Reiki, right? So I was partnered up with this gentleman, and then at the end, I'd be like, "Oh my goodness, do you see that? The light and the beautiful light and the two angels." And he looked at me, goes, "What are you talking about, Maria? That's the UFO and the two aliens." And I was like, "What?" So I thought it was really interesting that we both saw the exact same thing
Mm-hmm.
and we both interpreted it completely different.
So you saw like a UFO and two aliens, and he
He
said,
saw it that way. He saw it as a UFO because he saw the bright light. He's like, "No, Maria, that's a UFO with two aliens." And I'd be like, "No, that's a bright light with two angels." Because I was so into angels and
Mm-hmm.
he was so into UFOs, and we saw the exact same thing, but our minds interpreted it differently for us.
and who knows, they may be the same thing.
And
We
it,
don't know.
yeah, we don't
Right.
know.
We don't know.
I thought that was so interesting.
That
Yeah,
is.
that is so interesting. That's very cool. That's a really head scratcher, as our friend
Yeah.
would say. That's awesome. So, I'm sorry, Bex. I
It's
stepped all over
okay.
you
It's
today.
okay. You did nope, you did good.
I'm sorry. I got out of practice.
It's
Those were
I have
Bex.
two. It's okay.
Bex. Bex is such a wonderful reader as well and a channeler. So, Bex, um, can you tell us who won this week?
I can tell you who won. So the person who won our Egyptian soul spa meditation this week for sharing out last week was Teresa Holmes, one of our amazing viewers. So thank you, Teresa, for always being here and supporting us. And for any of you who want a chance to win, yeah, she's commented a couple of times.
Yeah.
For anybody who wants a chance to win, you just share it out, or you can comment even. Sometimes we intuitively pick whoever Spirit tells us to pick. So and it's a really amazing meditation. It includes it's a guided meditation with Teresa, with healing from Rhonda, and channeled messages from me. So it's very all-encompassing and just powerful. So yeah, that's it.
And Bex, have you got any special questions for Maria now that I have stepped all over you?
You're fine. You're fine.
So
I don't know.
fast.
I mean, as a reader, like I had, I did take some like online courses, like a psychic class with online Doreen Virtue one years ago, and then doing the Akashic records and things like that. But I found that the more that I got into reading cards, the less that it was just, like you were saying, learning to trust yourself when you're reading, they became just more prompts than anything. And there was nothing really, it kind of activated the message in me, but the cards didn't really mean as much as I continued to do it. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because for me, it's always been like like I don't really, Rhonda and Teresa read cards as well and things like that. But in my own personal life, I'm like the only person I know who does it. So it's like, it's just always feeling my way through it. And I have like 27 decks that I don't even use all of them, but I love, like you do, I love collecting them and having them. But I find that if spirit comes through, like someone's loved one who's crossed over, which I try not to, I get very overwhelmed with the responsibility of that. So it comes through as anxiety, like big time anxiety in me. And then it's like just this welling up in my solar plexus and in my chest that until I say something, it just keeps building and building and building. And that's something I've struggled with. And I know that's part of the fear stuff as well. But yeah, so like what tips would you have for somebody who's learning to kind of maneuver those sort of experiences?
I think if you are reading, right? So
Mhm.
you're doing the reading and spirit came to you. You got to remember it's a vibrational match.
Right.
So if that person found you and they kind of, it's like we're not alone, the whole universe is all interconnected, and their loved ones know that they're going to you, and their loved ones know because it's a vibrational match for you. So some
Mhm.
of my friends will do different types of readings because what happens is spirit matches your life experiences. So whatever happens in your life, that
Mhm.
spirit, that person's loved one can come through,
Right.
and then you just speak it, right? Because they
Mhm.
won't leave you alone. And seriously,
Yeah.
leave you alone until you say them because they know you can. They know that you are the best conduit, the best person to pass the messages for them. So what I like to explain to my students is I feel like our life is like a little file cabinet, and then spirit goes
Mhm.
through it and they've crossed over and they'll be like, okay, which is the medium out here that has the most similar things within their life that match my life? So then when they come forward, they blend with your soul. So you're doing a psychic reading. So your soul is blending with the person, the live person before you. And then all of a sudden, spirit steps forward. Now they're blending with your soul and they're tuning into things that have happened into your life. So all of a sudden, you may have a memory of a Christmas tree because, and you'd be like, oh, I'm sensing your grandfather. Did he love Christmas? Because your their grandfather tapped into that memory of you with that Christmas tree, or whatever memories are coming through. All of a sudden, you start remembering things within your own life, but it's actually their loved ones are tuning into that because that's within your aura, that's within your memory, and they
Mhm.
can use that. And then all of a sudden, you're just like, you need to say this, or
Mhm.
they tune in closer and maybe they need to come through and you have a picture of a graduation and it'll be like, did you just graduate recently? Because grandfather's coming forward saying congratulations on your graduation because they're using your memories. So that's why you'll hear like some readers will be like, oh, I only get grandmas, or I do readings and I only get these specific types of deaths or these
Mhm.
specific types of experiences. And the reason is because that's who we are each individually. So I know for myself, last year we had a few people that I knew that passed away where they took their own life. They crossed themselves over to
Right.
spirit. And I noticed for the next couple months, all my readings, the people that came to me, they all have that similar life experience.
Right.
And because
Wow.
I was close to some of the families, I was able to communicate the messages, whatever that was. So spirit
Right.
uses what you have.
Mm.
So
And
I
that's
that's why,
love.
yeah,
Yeah.
filing cabinet.
so,
What are your experiences in your life?
Yeah, that's fascinating. Well, and I know, like, you were talking about, like, as Rhonda was asking about your childhood, and I was like, where did I block it? Because I know I did. And I remember when I was like maybe 9 years old, I had a ghost club with my friends. We were so fascinated with ghosts, and they would tell me, oh, so and so died in a car accident, and they're all bloody, and they show up, and da da da. So I became convinced that spirit was going to show up in the gory aspects of it. So I'd be like, I don't want to see it, I don't want to see it, and I would shut everything down. And so, as you're talking, like, I think that I'm becoming more comfortable with the idea that they don't show up that way, but like they're still in the back of my mind. What if they did? But you're saying they show up like normal people, like just like they would if they were alive.
Absolutely. So they show up with, I've had people that have passed away in their 80s or 90s, and they will come through as 10-year-old children, and then they will show me their life as they grow up.
Right.
And they'll talk about memories.
Mm.
So they don't necessarily always show up as how they passed away.
Right.
yeah, but when we don't post our worst pictures on Facebook.
No, I know. Listen, it was a kid fear, right? That is still kind of lingering.
Yeah, I know, I
So,
understand. That would
And
be,
then you can set out the intention, like, I don't want to see, and they don't come through like that because that you got to remember they're no longer in their physical
right,
body,
right.
they're in their spirit body. So what some mediums have experiences, people's loved ones will come through and they will use images of your loved ones. So maybe it's like they'll show you a picture of your uncle and you'd be like, oh, I have a spirit here and he kind of reminds me of my uncle and he looks like this. Would you understand that? And the person would be like, yeah, they look like that. So again, spirit's going to use what's within your memory.
Right.
And they're going to use what's comfortable for you, knowing you're always safe. So you're not going to get the gory, like that doesn't happen.
Right. I mean, I also like horror movies, so that kind of set me up too. But there was definitely like this block about it out of fear that what if, of course, because anything that's unknown can be terrifying, right? Because we don't know what we're dealing with. So yeah, the fascination's always been there. The curiosity's always been there. There was always something pulling me towards, the mysticism and all of that. And I didn't know why. And, but then I just put myself into the scary parts of it and really shut it down. And so now, like, as I've been activating things more within myself, they're coming through, but it's only with people I'm very comfortable with. It doesn't happen with everyone. It's somebody that I've worked with for a while, or somebody that, I've got a bond with or whatever. And then they'll come through and it's more just a feeling, I haven't had the visual stuff yet because I know that that's still pretty blocked, but talking with you helps actually make me feel a little more peaceful about it. And I appreciate that. So thank you.
Thank you. I think too, one thing I like to teach my students is, who do you have there? I have your dad. See, when you say I have your dad in spirit here, you're not going gory, whatever, Hollywood. You're like, I have your dad. And when you say that, then all of a sudden, and you allow them to blend a little bit deeper with you as you let go of the fear. But it's like, I have your grandma.
Yeah.
I have your great, or I have your child coming forward. It doesn't sound scary because you put you're not labeling, but you're saying the name of the relationship. Because I find we are like, I have a discarnate spirit here. I have a spirit over here. Then people get like, oh, what is this? It's like, and too, like when I go for readings, I love when I hear, I have your grandmother here. I was like, oh my God, my grandmother's here. And then the fear goes away because you just said who you have. And that makes a huge difference. And that's just something you learn, because in the beginning, you're going to feel, and you're going to feel their soul, but you're not going to know whose soul it is, right? You're not like, I don't know if I got a grandmother, a mother, a brother, a sister. I don't know that. But with training, and the one thing I like to do with my students with training is like, who do you have? Whose family member do you have with you? Is it their mother? Is it their father? Is it their brother, their sister? Is it your aunt? Is it your uncle? And that just gets rid of all the fear. And then it's like, now it's a conversation because you're bringing them through their voice. And now whatever you start feeling in your body doesn't feel so scary. And, not every medium is clairvoyant. Not every medium is clairsentient. Not every medium is claircognizance. Like, we all have our special way of connecting and knowing too. Over time, it may change. So when in the beginning of my mediumship, I was very clairsentient. Like I could feel them walk through me. So I could feel all of that. Then as spirits working with me over the years, then I became very clairvoyant. So I would see them a lot. So always seeing. And I've noticed lately I'm very claircognizant. So just a knowing. So when I go to do my mediumship readings, I am trusting and surrendering to spirit that when I start to speak, they are there. And that happens over time as you train. The energy doesn't need to be so strong for us as mediums to know they are there, because we're so trusting, and they can use their energy for other things as they're communicating with us. So know that everybody's different, and that's okay.
Yeah, no, I feel so much better. It was like, I want to ask, but I don't want to ask, and just toying with it. But no, it's something that's been kind of coming back at me again, and it's coming back with a bigger force. And so when I heard you're going to be on today, I was like, oh, this is perfect, because I can be there. And it just, spirit always knows, right?
Absolutely. I remember doing tarot card readings and when in the beginning, and spirit would come through and people could see it, because there's just the shift that happens when spirit steps forward, and they'd be like, is my loved one there? No. Nobody's here. I'm so terrified. They're like, but you can say, because I feel like somebody's here, and I can feel them, and I just be like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. So back to the tarot reading. Just because I was scared, because I had Hollywood in my mind, all the scary images. And then it was the training over time and talking and meeting your tribe, meeting like-minded people takes the fear away.
Yeah.
I understand the fear because been there, done that.
Yeah. I
That's so
just shut it down. So now I'm not going to shut it down. I'm going to work on opening it up more. So thank you. I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. I don't think we shut things down. I think we kind of step it aside, and when we are ready, Spirit's like, we're going to open it. Because I have heard over time where people be like, well, I just couldn't deal with it, and I shut it down, and now it's disappeared. So no, it never disappears. It's always there when you're ready to, strengthen that ability.
Yeah.
I don't think it disappears. I think it's always there, and then it's just it's like learning to play the piano. Some people are natural, but if they don't do lessons, they're not going to be like Mozart. Like, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. Very
That's
cool.
so cool. Now I know why I just skipped over you now, Bex. Now you had your question.
I did. It all works out how it's meant to.
That's right. Well, join us next week. We have Angie and Kat on next week. We were so happy we could get you, and we'll keep tracking you, and I'll ask you again because now that we've got you on,
yes, thank you.
You know not to be afraid of us. We're here, so we just loved it. And if you have something new you want to reach out when you do your psychic development book, your psychic development journal that you're going to do, just reach out and let us know, and we'll put you back on. We just love it. Thanks, Maria.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, ladies. It has been amazing conversation, because I will say when I got on, I was completely terrified, and you guys made the process very smooth and easy. So thank you. So inviting.
Thanks so much. Take care. Stay on with us. I'm just going to put the end. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Share it out, and catch us on the podcast, too.